The first thing I did here was just wet the space where the apple is and then put in yellow all over the whole thing as an underwash. I allowed the yellow to fully dry, and then I came back with the quinacridone rose and wet the apple first again, and then put the quinacridone rose all over the whole apple right on top of that yellow. Once the quinacridone rose was in place, I put some yellow back into areas where there is yellow in the apple itself just to bring that color back. The next thing I did was go ahead and paint that stem in, and now I'm going back into the rose and I'm adding a little more color here and there, and I'm even picking up a slightly darker shade of red. But as you can see, the problem with this apple is there's no highlights, there's no darks. So that makes this apple look like an apple, but very two-dimensional, very flat. Well, there's a way that you can take this apple and paint it a little bit differently, see the lights, the midtones, and the darks, and put them where they go, and suddenly this apple is gonna go from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. Okay, so I am doing the same thing I did before. I've got the apple wet, and now I'm putting in that same yellow, but I'm being a little more strategic about where I put it so that I can make sure to leave room for some highlights. Now I'm coming back in with the same yellow, but this time I'm painting wet onto dry, and I'm reinforcing that yellow for areas that I know are gonna go darker because I want this yellow to peek through the additional washes that I'm going to be putting on top. And now I've switched back to the quinacridone rose, and I'm putting a very watery mixture of that color in on this side of the apple where it remains a little pink, and the color is very light because there are reflections bouncing up off the surface that it is sitting on onto this side of the apple and making the skin of the apple a little bit lighter. Now, while the yellow paint is still damp, I'm coming back in with more yellow in places that I feel like I need it, and I'm also going to intensify some of that quinacridone rose in places where the apple has darker areas and leaving it out of the areas that are lighter. Now, as you can see, I am continuing to pick up more pigment that is a little more saturated, a little more pigment, a little less water, so that I can create a little bit darker values. And while I'm at it, places that I see that are more of a orange red, I will add some more yellow to, because the nickel azo yellow and the quinacridone rose together make some beautiful oranges and reds. Now I'm just lifting out some paint in places where there needs to be a brighter highlight. As you can probably tell, this one compared to the last apple that I did, I am putting more washes up on top of each other and using a layering type of effect in order to make this apple really come to life, have a three-dimensional look, and look realistic rather than just two-dimensional. Part of the reason for this is I'm not using more than 3 colors, but I am building up the saturation and I'm building up the values of my color, and that is what's going to make this apple look realistic rather than flat and dull. After several washes, building color up on top of color up on top of color, I'm finally nearing the end, and I'll start putting in some fine little details that will really make this apple pop, including putting a shadow underneath to ground it.